Well, I never said I'm cleaning house. I don't know who came up with that expression. We have a lot of great people over there. We have bad laws. We're fighting the bad laws, the bad things that are coming out of Congress.
That was President Trump this afternoon in the wake of the departures at Homeland Security. Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, also the head of the Secret Service, they are gone, and they were the top two people at DHS. Plus, take a look at this graphic. It shows you who else could be on the chopping block. Also, some influential Republicans upset with what is going on. Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa says the president is pulling the rug out from under the very people he needs, and Grassley extremely concerned. Senator John Cornyn of Texas says this is, quote, a mess, and the president is taking out his frustrations on the people that he is canning. Plus, we are learning much more about why Nielsen may in fact have been shown the door. Multiple reports saying that she, the scapegoat, as Trump gets more frustrated by the surge in migrants trying to come here. Plus, Nielsen was not willing, apparently, to start denying asylum to all people from Central America because, well, it was against the law. Nielsen even consulted with White House counsel, who agreed with her take. Also, we now know from NBC News reporting that Nielsen and Trump clashed over the administration's family separation policy. The president reportedly wanted to reinstate and even expand it as he feels it's a deterrent, but Nielsen disagreed. Well, today the president denied that, of course, and he started pointing fingers at the prior administration.
President Obama separated the children. Those cages that were shown, I think they were very inappropriate. They were built by President Obama's administration, not by Trump. President Obama had child separation. Take a look. The press knows it. You know it. We all know it. I'm the one that stopped it.
That is a very unique form of recollection. Let's just leave it at that. Nielsen also reportedly was not willing to close the border at El Paso in Texas. That after the president ordered it done. She was one of the people who talked him out of it. That was yet another thing that paved the way for her departure. Also, the tough week continues for the president's immigration crackdown. Federal court in California just blocked the administration's move to keep asylum seekers from coming here by forcing them to wait in Mexico. Now, that's considered a major blow to the president's attempt to try to keep that population out. Also, CNN now saying the president actually told border agents to refuse to let any migrants cross the border, which, by the way, is in direct defiance to federal laws and also the court ruling I just told you about. Let's bring in our guest, Congressman Peter King. He is a New York congressman. He serves on the Homeland Security, and he joins us out of our nation's capital. You almost need a scorecard, Congressman, to keep track as to who's still there and who isn't. How concerned are you by the chaotic last 72, 96 hours?
I'm actually very concerned. Homeland Security Department is essential. It was created after 9/11, and the fact that you have so many vacant positions at the top, it seems like musical chairs, and the chairs always end up empty. So we have to do something about it, and not just for the issue of border security. Remember, this department was set up after 9/11 to protect us against a terrorist attack. And my concern is that not only is this going to weaken our position at the border, by having all these empty positions, we could lose our focus on counterterrorism. And that is the greatest threat. The border is important, and I support, for the most part, what the president wants to do at the border. But my real concern is, again, another terrorist attack. And I can tell you that every day that goes by, there is something that is being looked at. There's a possibility of an attack almost any day of the year. And I'm not saying there's anything out there now, don't get me wrong, but we're constantly checking out possible attacks, possible threats, watching different groups and organizations around the world, and also those that could be in contact with those here in the United States. And if we have this type of confusion and pandemonium at the top of the department, it leaves us vulnerable. So I hope those slots are filled as quickly as possible, and I hope the department can be running. You can't have vacant positions in a department as important as Homeland Security.
You know, and not just vacant, you also have so many different acting secretaries across the board that your job in Congress is supposed to confirm these folks. We haven't even had that. But I've been struck by how many Republicans aren't just concerned over the tumult that you just articulated, but they're also concerned over some of the reporting that's gone into this. That part of the reason Secretary Nielsen was shown the door, and others as well, is They said no to the president when they believed his directives ran counter to the law. We're even hearing accounts that the president told border agents to defy court orders. I mean, you don't have to like the law, but you have to obey the law. How worried are you that you got the commander-in-chief sending mixed messages to the folks on the ground that have to carry out and follow the law?
Yeah, well, again, I'm not certain as to how much of those stories are entirely reliable. Now, I'm sure a dominant personality. He wants things done, and then they tell him why it can't be done. I mean, that happens with every president. So I'm not certain if the president is pushing him to violate the law if they tell him that it can't be done. I think his concern may be people saying it can't be done just because they think it shouldn't be done, and actually the ways that it could be done legally. So I think part of it is whether or not there's a confidence the president has. Is it really violative of the law, or is it a situation where the person just thinks it shouldn't be done, or that's their opinion, but they haven't checked with the Attorney General? Again, I would like to get the full story on this. I know there's a lot of leakers in the administration. There's a lot of people who are angry at the president, and they leak out stories. But again, in answer to your question, if the president is asking him to violate the law, if it's clear that he's violating the law and he still insists that it be violated, that's wrong. I'm just not certain that it's that clear cut, but we have to wait and see.
Well, how about the following, which is, you said it yourself, you want professionals in these key positions at the Homeland Security, different apparatus level, but please tell me, Stephen Miller shouldn't be the one calling the shots here, right?
If that is true, if it is true, and I know that Stephen Miller has a real influence, if he's the one actually making policy and giving orders to be executed and carried out, that's wrong. I know Miller has a lot to say. How far that's gone, whether he's crossed the line or not, I don't know. I would prefer that he not have as strong a position in the administration as he does, but every administration has some strong staff people, and often they overrule cabinet members and they get themselves personally involved. But I would prefer that you have a strong cabinet secretary, they have strong assistants and undersecretaries, and that the president tell them what he wants done, they implement that as much as they possibly can, rather than have a staff person sort of shortcutting the chain of command.
Listen, I was at the border on both sides of it just a few weeks ago. Anyone who says there's a simple answer to this has not been there. It is complicated. I fully acknowledge that. However, you can see from your district the Statue of Liberty, and I don't have to remind you what it says on it, and I don't think the King family came over on the Mayflower. When the president says America's full, no more room, you represent as diverse a borough as there is in this country. What was your reaction when you heard that?
I think the president has to make it clear that he's talking about illegal immigration. I strongly support legal immigration. I also support those that are here, such as TPS recipients who are actually invited into the country, that they should be allowed to stay, and dreamers who really in this country through no fault or no blame of their own. They were brought here by the parents at a young age. They should also be given an opportunity to stay here and have a pathway towards citizenship. So I think the president has to be much clearer when he's talking about immigration, that he's talking about illegal, undocumented immigration as opposed to legal immigration, and also those immigrants that have been here, if they are undocumented, how long they've been here. To me, the key issue right now is find a way to secure the border as close to 100% as possible, but also find a way to allow those who are here already, allow them to stay if they can comply with certain standards, including obviously not having a criminal record, not being on continued relief or welfare, and also that they've made some attempt to learn the English language.
And I should note that Congressman as well as Congressman Suozzi have introduced bipartisan immigration bills. But finally, as I said, immigration reform, extremely complicated. We can't have open borders in this country. But that said, can you say definitively that we can attempt to police our borders without making family separations U.S. policy? I thought we had this conversation months ago. I can't believe we're having it all over again.
Yes, but obviously nobody wants to see the pictures of kids being taken away from their parents. So we have to find a way to work with the courts and the Congress to accommodate that.
Congressman King, I appreciate the time today. Thank you so much.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, when we come back, we're going to dig into some key topics by the numbers, as they say, including the race for 2020, the Trump tax cuts, and the Mueller report. President Trump went from everyone ought to see it to they're out to get me. But what does the American public say? A lot of interesting poll numbers. We'll break the numbers down next after this.